So here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some clips from the news, and having some dialogue with those of you who were able to join us for the live portion. And if you're listening somewhere else and you'd like to get involved in the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat, and you can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. Being joined today by three felines in the room. You can't see them, but you might can see Monkey if you're looking. That blob right there is Monkey sitting on the printer. I've got Dusty laying on the floor, and even Miss Kitty is in here right now, sitting around, ignoring me because they're all asleep. And I'll go ahead. Of course, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you listening and not able to see. And I'll say hello to some of the people that have chimed in thus far. I see Helter is here, as well as Dragon. Rodney is here. He says he gets up at 4:30 a.m. And of course, Rodney is in New Zealand. Cyberjack Sr. is here. Brian, Monkey, Sven. He says, he tongue-in-cheek says DNC was awesome and full of truth. I couldn't watch too much of it. I saw a little bit. I saw enough to be frustrating. I saw enough to be frustrating. And and by the way, I did find some information on earned income credit. We'll talk about that in a little bit because we talked about it a lot yesterday, the earned income credit, or it's EITC now, not EIC anymore, earned income tax credit, even though it's not from the IRS, but it is tax money. So I guess that makes sense. I see Fluke Man, JJ, and Lucky have joined us as well. Glad you could get in here today, as well as Gary Edwards, who says, oi, he's letting you know he's in the UK. Oi. Oi. But yeah, the DNC, the three-ring circus out there. I didn't see protesting like what they've got going on at the RNC. I'll give you that one. Rodney says the protests outside the DNC allowed the media to focus on that as opposed to the debate inside. Yeah, it was a huge distraction, But I mean, they had a circus going on anyway, never mind the protests. There's protesters out there for everything. Gee, Democrats, have you noticed that everybody seems to be upset with you? New York Post article, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday. Free abortions and vasectomies, and an 18-foot tall inflatable IUD called Frida Womb. They gave the balloon a name. It's Frida-Womb, to be erected at the DNC in Chicago. It's already up. Okay. Attendees of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago will have the opportunity to get a free abortion or a vasectomy blocks away from the event, and vasectomy appointments are filling up fast. Hey, you know what? They may as well not breed. So go ahead and get that vasectomy, huh, guys? Anybody with blue hair, help yourself. Planned Parenthood Great Rivers, which serves most of Missouri and part of southern Illinois, is sending a mobile health center to the Windy City's West Loop to offer reproductive services on Monday and Tuesday. Again, it's not reproduction if you're hindering reproduction. Okay? That's termination of pregnancy or elimination of the ability to conceive. That is not reproductive. Reproductive means something is being creative or created. You're not creating anything if you're erasing things. Back to the article. Medication abortions are reportedly available on both days, with vasectomies being exclusively offered Monday, according to the New York Times. Unbelievable. It says vasectomies are reportedly in high demand, and there's already a waiting list. A vasectomy can be reversed, by the way, but it does not always work. The reversal does not always work. All right. So, quote, there are going to be people traveling to Chicago from all over the country, Dr. Colleen McNichols, the chief medical officer of Planned Parenthood Great Rivers, told the paper. And I think we should be doing what we can as healthcare providers to show what the impact of good policy and bad policy is. Healthcare is another oxymoron. We do not have a healthcare industry. We have a health repair industry. All right. Healthcare is being clean, having good physical and oral hygiene, getting a good night's sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, living stress-free. That's healthcare. What we've got is health freaking repair. And I'll catch a couple of comments here and we'll move on. And the image that you're looking at, by the way, that is the balloon of the IUD. Okay? Sven says they had walls and fences. Racist walls and fences. Yeah, and the Palestinian protesters tore those down, by the way. There's been a lot of violence. And Lucky says, Underground World News is something you might like, Dave. I've spoken to him a few times. He's a good man. Okay. And Gary Edwards says, test tube babies have a womb with a view. Oh, no. Hey, that's coming. We read that article last year. But that's the big, stupid balloon of the IUD. You know, I'd rather a woman insert an IUD than have an abortion. But, you know, apparently I'm not allowed to talk about that. It says the services will be provided on a sliding fee scale. Pay what you can and get the health care you need. It's not health care. Again, it's just so offensive to me. The words are everything. And I forget who said it. He was an author. He says if you can control the meanings of the words, you can control people. Somebody knows who that was. They'll say it in the comments section. It says, according to the appointment reservation form, which only requires a name, date of birth, and basic contact information, Vice President Kamala Harris, who will be nominated as the Democratic presidential nominee at the convention, has been outspoken in her support for abortion rights after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which had federally protected abortion access for half a century. Roe v. Wade was a lie anyways. That woman wanted a divorce, not an abortion. She was used, and she said, excuse me, she said that she was used in interviews for decades after the fact. The Roe who told her real name, I can't remember. Fluke says, talking about tax, did Trump say he'll make waiters and waitresses tips tax-free a few weeks ago? He said that like a year ago. It's been a while. Maybe not a year, but it's been a long time. And Harris stole his idea, saying she's going to do it if she gets elected, but she's already the president. Well, she's the vice president, and it's something we've talked about before. Is that she's talking about fixing the first. Here's the contrast. First, she tells you nothing is wrong with the country. The economy's great and everything's fine. But on the same token, she says she's going to fix things. So it needs to be fixed or it's fine. It's broken or it's not. Make up your mind. Secondly, even if she's not acting as president right now, she's in a position to at least be vocal about what she believes. You're talking about fixing things that your administration's policies damaged in the first place, that you could already have been working on or at least complaining about the last 3 3/4 years. Because we got, 2.5 months till the election now? Something like that. You could have been outspoken about that already. You could have been doing something about it. And everything, all you ever want to talk about is reproductive rights. That's the least of our worries. Dragon says the basic tool for the manipulation of reality is the manipulation of words. If you can control the meaning of words, you can control the people who must use them. That's right, but who said that? Was it Philip K. Dick? Is that what? That's the name the Dragon put up. I know, I've heard it before. Rodney says, once again, I mocked the leftists in the comments and YouTube deleted it. I'm not surprised. And Dental is here. And Dental says, I had him listening to the Foreskins the other day. Plastic Gangster is one of the best Rude Boy songs ever written. Brian says $1 world. If everybody in the world gave me $1, I'd be a lot better off. Marvel fan is here. Glad you could join us today. And Lucky says, oh, talking to Dragon, excuse me. Gary says, are they going to let Biden stumble and mumble at the DNC? Yes, they did. They put him on at midnight, and he was a mess. He was a mess, and he fumbled his way through it, and it was embarrassing. And they also wheeled out, yes, in a wheelchair, wheeled out Jesse Jackson. He's wheelchair bound now. And, you know, he did his thing. And it's like, you know, again, I get frustrated every time I see him or Al Sharpton, because I'm like, what have you ever accomplished? What have you done besides shakedowns in court and race baiting? What have you done? Seriously. But of course, they're going to bring him out because he's the biggest shill in the business next to Obama and Al Sharpton. And they also brought out the president of the NAACP, who, quote, first thing out of his mouth, I came here to do my black job. Okay. But then talks about the importance of unity. Well, you just emphasized how you're doing your black job. How can you incorporate unity for everyone? You contradict yourself with your opening statement. And I see Carrick and Jane has joined us. Glad you could make it. Speaking of the foreskins, because I brought that up the other day, I actually went and found the album because I had one. I'll go ahead and show it to you here. There you go. The Foreskins picture disc. And All Cops Are Bastards is actually on this album. Yes. Since you brought it up. I thought about it after I talked about it the other day, and I went and I dug it out because I knew I had one. I knew I had one. And Rodney says, he who controls the language controls the masses. Saul Alinsky rules for radicals. And the warden has joined us here today. As we move on. And they make excuses for the empty seats. You know, that's another thing that has come up, and they're comparing the two conventions because, of course, there weren't riots. There were not riots at the RNC, but there's rioting going on here. I mean, they boarded up half of Chicago trying to control things. USA Today article, why are there so many empty seats at the DNC, without getting into the whole thing here. They're blaming it on late arrivals. See, it says convention scheduled to start at 6:15 p.m. was delayed 20 minutes as organizers scrambled to get everyone inside. They blamed a delay in buses. They said they had 20 buses that were stuck a half a mile from the convention centers because of protesters clashing with police, causing attendees to arrive late. That's still a problem. I mean, you're telling me you're blaming, oh, well, there aren't very many seats filled, is what they're saying. Not very many seats filled as there should be at the show because people were late. But then you sit there and you say the reason people are late is because Chicago was up to its eyeballs in protesters and riots and fighting. Way to go, DNC. And Gary says, have you seen the foreskin drum set? It's played by hand. In the audition, only a rabbi made the cut, did he? And All People says the NAACP is a white organization created by white socialists with the goal of increasing Caribbean migration. Oh, my God. Oh, no. And Jane says, I listened to the DNS speeches, or DNC. It was okay, but the people parading in handmaiden outfits and abortion pills was weird. Yeah, and there were people outside that were dressed, that were wearing pills with the names of pharmaceuticals on them, mostly like abortion pills, or birth control pills. And it's like, yeah, well, now you know who's really in charge. There's one of your string pullers for our lawmakers right there. The pharmaceutical companies on parade at the DNC. Thank you so much. But yeah, they're blaming the lack of participation inside on the protests outside, but admitting that is as bad as not filling the seats. And Dental says, I used to run around with sharps when I was a teenager. I was involved with a crew called United Youth back when the unity movement was actually about unity and not anti-white reverse racist BS. Interesting. Interesting. They're also trying to pat AOC on the back. I don't know if you saw AOC saying that this is a Daily Beast article, AOC fires up the sleepy Democratic National Convention crowd. Representative Ocasio-Cortez injected much-needed energy into a Democratic National Convention that was beginning to drag on Monday night, telling the Democratic faithful about her own journey from waiting tables to helping her mother fend off foreclosure and her father dying of cancer. Quote, I'm here tonight because America before us has a rare and precious opportunity in Kamala Harris. We have a chance to elect a president who is in the middle, for the middle class, because she is from the middle class. Wow. Is she? Here's the thing. This is an article that is really sucking up to AOC. And they're sucking up to AOC because a lot of the other news outlets are relentlessly criticizing her for doing voices again. Okay, and I'm gonna play a clip from this real quick. All right, see if I can get in position, get this wound up. She did her urban or suburban white female voice at the DNC, and she's been called out for it now. Let me see if I can get this going.
We have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she is from the middle class. She understands the urgency of rent checks and groceries and prescriptions. She is as committed to our reproductive and civil rights as she is to taking on corporate greed.
There's all your buzzwords, but you heard her voice there. That's not what she sounds like. She's doing it again. She's doing it again. And they said roaring crowd. Did that crowd look roaring? Did they look like they were engaged at all when they panned the crowd? When they, during the applause, they looked pretty damn bored to me. I don't know. All People says Maurice Storefield, a self-hating white man, was the first president of the NAACP. He was a socialist, and his only goal was replacement-level migration. And Sven said she is just loud. She's always loud. But they're calling her out for doing her voices again. That's not Helter thinks it's paid actors in the crowd. And All People thinks it's funny because he says Democrat accents change with the audience. It sure looks that way, doesn't it? And it's mostly females that do that. Female Democrat lawmakers like Hillary Clinton has done it. Kamala Harris has done it. So on and so forth. They alter the voice. But yeah, that's her soccer mom voice, I guess. And the audience does not look that engaged to me. They look like they're barely paying attention. The clips of what I saw during her speech, she hits all the buzzwords. I mean, she was told what to say, I'm sure. Reproductive rights and corporate greed and yeah, okay. What about government greed? What about that? How about government greed? How about government waste of our tax money that they extort from us? And Sven says they had applause and cheer messages on the sideboards. Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you go to a game show and they got the signs, or you could see it a lot better on older shows where they would have a TV monitor that was hanging from the ceiling, and the monitor would tell you applaud or, quiet or whatever. It would tell you what to do. It would tell you what to do. And Gary says barking spirits can alter your voice. Can't they? Speaking of spirits, I've been reading a lot of articles that are speculating that Kamala Harris is an alcoholic based on her demeanor. Don't know if she is or not. Don't know if that's real or not. She does sound like she's drunk sometimes, though. So I can totally see that. I can totally see that. But what are you going to do? Probably easier to control if she is one. Probably easier to control in the long run. Add more strings to that woman. I thought this was interesting also. And this is something else Kamala Harris related, and then we'll move on, I think. Tampa Free Press. Kamala Harris visits a Pennsylvania convenience store her administration had sued for racist background checks. And that's Sheetz. I've never heard of Sheetz. Okay. I don't know who they are, but apparently they're a convenience store. It says Vice President Kamala Harris made a campaign stop in Pennsylvania over the weekend at a convenience store that the Biden-Harris administration sued in April for allegedly having racist hiring policies. Wait till you hear this one. Harris, along with running mate Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, stopped by a Sheetz convenience store in western Pennsylvania on Sunday while on a short tour of the crucial swing state ahead of the start of the Democratic National Convention. The Biden-Harris administration is suing the chain currently, for allegedly discriminating on the basis of race because they screen potential hires for background checks. My last couple of jobs, I had to take a background check. When I worked for the mental health facility, I had to go through an FBI screen. They're screened by the FBI before I could be hired. I had to go through criminal background checks when I worked for Durham, when I worked for Frito-Lay, when I worked for Laidlaw School Services, when I worked for the Juvenile Justice Authority, when I worked for the daycare center. I had a KDHE, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, did a background check on me then. Really, most of my jobs, I had to do a criminal background check. So it's, first of all, she's kind of a hypocrite for going there if she's currently suing or headlining a lawsuit against this organization, number one. Number two, that's like on the slide admitting that you think all people of color are criminals. Oh, black folk, they can't get a job if there's a background check because they all have records. Is that what you're saying, Kamala? It's not true. I bet you there are black people that work for that company that have gone through the background check. You know what I mean? Let me catch up a couple of comments. Jane says Eric Erickson, the radio guy, said it was Vajay convention with all female speakers. I see what you're saying, and her skin shows it if she is a big drinking too much. Yeah, well, not if she has all that foundation on, because the capillaries often in your nose and your ears break. It looks like a jigsaw puzzle, but if she's got full on makeup all the time, you'll never see it. You'll never see it. And Monkey says Sheetz is a gas station. Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. And Gary says someone told Kamala to drink Canada Dry. She went there. Oh, wow. And Monkey says it's like Buc-ee's. Are you sure? Is it that big? Because Buc-ee's is like a Walmart. Buc-ee's is massive. Rodney says background checks are normal for basically any job. Yeah. I mean, that's why I was making the point. Most of the jobs I've had, I had to go through a background check, and some of them serious ones. Anything where I was working for the state or working with kids or working with, like I said, this last one, it was the FBI did the background check. And they did an Interpol check on our fingerprints. Seriously. Unbelievable. And New York Patriot has joined us. Glad you could make it here today. Incredible. As I try to catch up a couple more comments here. And Dental says, I remember when Homeland Security would run checks on anyone getting a hazmat transport on their driver's license right after September 2001. Good point. Good point. And Dental says, it would take a year for some people to clear that check. And Jane says they love Buc-ee's. Yeah, Buc-ee's is an experience, especially on the weekend. There's like 5,000 people in there. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, first, she's a hypocrite for even going here if they're currently involved in a lawsuit with this organization. Because what message does that send? If you are against them for whatever reason, then you don't go your ass in there. Period. Second of all, they have every right to run a criminal background check to make sure. I mean, that's like saying when I worked at pretty much every job I've ever had, at least from the 2000s on, has required a drug test. When I had to administer the drug tests, when I was working at not Frito-Lay, I didn't do that there. And hey, Monkey, how you doing, buddy? When I was working for Family Dollar, almost no one ever passed it. 1 in 30 people passed the damn drug test, and most of our applicants were Caucasian. How's that discriminating? How's that for discrimination? New York Patriot says they got their HazMat endorsement without a background check because they already worked for New York City. Okay, so you got grandfathered. I don't think, well, I had to do a background check anyway when I worked for Laidlaw and Durham, which are both school bus companies, because I had a B-class license. I had the B-class license with all the endorsements because I had it was the B class. You get a school bus rating. I also had a transit bus rating because driving a transit bus is actually very different from a school bus. You know, the flat-faced buses, because the wheels are behind you instead of in front of you, and a lot of people can't do it. I had the air brake rating and the handicap transport rating. But when I moved to Illinois, they took all my credentials away. They wouldn't let me renew the license because they said they wouldn't accept those credentials from another state, and they wanted me to take all the classes again. And I was like, I can't afford to do that. Well, at that time, I couldn't pay for all that. So I had to surrender the license when I moved to Illinois. Basically, they screwed me, is what happened. They screwed me. Oh, speaking of getting screwed, before I move on here, a little personal note, because, you know, again, pretty much everybody here is aware, we take care of a lot of shelter cats. You got Monkey is laying here. Monkey's right there. I've got Dusty is asleep on the floor there. Miss Kitty is asleep in the corner there on top of the towel. Oh, the Dusty is moving. She's not quite asleep. And all in, we're taking care of 20 cats right now, okay? And we have the connection with Halo House, which is an animal shelter that we've been working with, you know, doing some fostering, helping with rehoming, things like that, right? And Halo, I should say, did have a relationship with Halo House because they hung us out to dry yesterday. Because we had three young females that are broken in. They've got they've had all their shots. They've been fixed. They're babies now. You can cradle them like a baby. Sweethearts. Okay, they're ready to be adopted. We've got feral mama with her 5 kittens. The kittens are ready to be weaned off, and they're comfortable with people. We've got 4 others that we've got in the back that need services. Monkey that someone brought to us. And Halo House is like, oh yeah, you know, because the vet wanted to know, hey, what's going on with those kittens? Whatever. They want them, but they can't take them directly from us. They got to be sponsored, some kind of bullshit. Okay. And Halo House says, yeah, sure, we're going to get on that, right? Send us your information. Then they blocked our phone and our email. And I'm like, what the hell is this? We're holding cats for you. What are you doing? They shut us off. And so now we don't know what to do. And now we got to start from square one and try to find another agency to work with. I was looking into PAWS, PAWS Atlanta is close by, but they want us to pay them $75 a cat. And it's like, give me a damn break. So yeah, we're in a bit of a debacle now because we're in a bit of a debacle now because now we got 20 cats and we had support, now we don't. Catching up a couple of comments. New York Patriot says basically, yeah, grandfathered. They work for New York City Transit, have a Class B with an air brake passenger endorsement. I got my HazMat when I transferred to supply and logistics. And Rodney made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Rodney. Oh, I guess he's got to go. Well, glad you could join us and appreciate that a great deal, Rodney, especially now because it's expensive taking care of them. And I've got to get them serviced. I've got to get the ones that are rehomable rehomed, and the injured ones or whatever strays that we've got that need to be fixed, taken care of before we have 50 instead of 20. Jane says, can you teach a cat to attack a stranger? My Siamese cat had when a teen would attack and freaked out my friends. Some are just hostile. You could probably train them to do that, but I've never done it. I've never done it. Jane says, how much charge for a kitten or cat? We don't charge anything. We were just getting them processed, and Halo House they had vouchers for it through a local vet. But the vet can't do it directly for us because of state regulations. We need a sponsor. So we don't have one now. But then the other place, PAWS, wants to charge us. So because, we got 3 ready to go. And then the kittens are going to be next. And it's like, well, we can't pay you. Look how much that it cost. 3 young or 3 young females. That's $225. We can't do it. And Monkey is like, WTF. Tuck says they're finks. Yeah, no kidding. Monkey wants to know if they were PETA endorsed. That I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they were endorsed. And Brian says blocking people for reasons other than harassment is 12-year-old behavior. No kidding. No kidding. And Gary said, good job, Rodney. Yes, indeed. Much appreciated, Rodney. Much appreciated. But yeah, and it's like no explanation. They told the vet oh yeah, we're going to contact him. Sure, no problem. And they did. They actually called my wife on the phone. Yeah, send us the information on those 3 females that you got, and we'll get back to you. And then she tried to email them, blocked. Tried to call them. Hey, what happened with the email? Blocked. Okay, fine. They just said that to satisfy the vet for whatever reason. And Fluke says, can you put a sign outside your house? Where we are, nobody will see it. Oh. And Jane says, I wanted to get a wiener dog at a foster home. They wanted me to pay $300. Wow. Wow. And Raccoon says they had a Siamese cat that attacked their abusive ex when he was smacking me around. There you go. Some cats can be very, very protective. And Gary Edwards says, pause prices, give one pause. No kidding. No kidding. And it's just concerning and it's frustrating because it's like, we're trying to help. And we had 3 that we were working on for them. Never mind the kittens. And kittens, I mean, if worst case scenario, it's not that hard to get rid of a little kitten. Monkey, if I wanted to give Monkey away, he's this big. People love a kitten, but an older cat, they get nervous no matter how nice they are. And New York Patriot made a $100 donation to the channel. Wow. Thank you, New York Patriot. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. $99.99, can't give 100 for some reason. I couldn't imagine. I don't know how that all works, But wow, New York Patriot, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. And it does help a lot. I mean, it's we spend a ton just on food and litter and medications. Never mind all of this BS now. And now I got to find I got to figure it out. And Gary says it advertised conservative cats ready for trade home adoptions. And Monkey says, in case YouTube didn't show the comment, Halo was mad you didn't give it the PETA treatment of saving. Yeah. And Lucky says, ask your great lady to do an hour and a half. Tell you to do great to do an hour? Oh, you mean the length of the show. And New York Patriot says, the Lord's been good to me. You're very welcome. Hey, we pay it forward as best we can. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And we enjoy taking care of them, but it is hard. It is hard. We don't want to, the adoptions are hard for me too, because I always worry that people aren't going to do right because they ended up with us for a reason. I've got crippled and injured cats that obviously were abused, like Miss Kitty over there, who can't walk right, or Hobo, who has no teeth and no explanation from the vet other than maybe some kind of violence, things like this. What's her name? Granny Smith is crippled. She'll walk with a limp the rest of her life. Those are people that adopted a pet one day and didn't do right. So you know what I mean? It's hard for me. Plus, you got to be careful because a lot of times, and we'll get back to the news here in a moment. I just got off on a bunny trail here because I'm passionate about it, honestly. But, a lot of times people who go and look for a pet, like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or something like that, free cat to a good home, free dog to a good home. Many of the people who go and collect those animals, they're using them for training for pit fights. They're fodder to activate a killer instinct in a dog in a pit fight. That happens a lot. And so you have to be careful. Jane says you can't go on vacation. No, not for long. We had to go to South Carolina over the weekend, remember, to check on my wife's father because he's not well. Her mother's not well. You all know the story. And I was a nervous wreck because I'm like, oh my God, I've got 7 in the house and 13 on the back porch in the habitats out back. And I set them up as best I could, but at some point they're going to miss a meal. It makes me nervous. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'll throw that up from all people there. Still talking about the NAACP. He's doing his black job, is what he said. He's doing his black job. Oh my God. And Tuck says a few also end up as food for exotic pets like pythons. I've heard that too. And so I get real nervous about doing actual adoptions. You know what I mean? I get real nervous about doing actual adoptions because I'm like, who the hell is this joker? Can I trust this person? And you can't go back and follow up. I can't show up at dude's house in 3 months and say, yo, how's that cat doing? Where my cat at? People aren't going to fly with that. They aren't going to fly with that. You know what I mean? And Patriot says they have 2 Pekingese and they're a handful. I don't know how you do it. It's a labor of love. And I don't really get angry. I don't get really angry. And I think that helps a lot. I don't get angry at them. I get angry at people easy. I don't get angry at them because I know they're dumb. People are stupid. Animals are dumb. Animals are dumb because they don't know any better. But they're not stupid. People are stupid and dumb. So the cat does something they're not supposed to do. I know a cat has a brain the size of a shelled walnut. What do you want? Yeah, okay, dummy. You shouldn't have done that. Come here, let's go. Let me fix this or clean this or whatever. Um, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So they rarely frustrate me. Monkey has got this thing now where he'll jump up. As small as he is, he can hit my shoulder from behind. So all of a sudden, I've got a cat clinging to my back. Oh, that's just great. Thanks for that. There you go, Lucky. His Glock 17. How's my cat? I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that sometimes because these people make me so freaking mad. And he suggests also, where did I see that comment? I'm trying to keep up. Lucky says, do a longer show. You say great things and people appreciate it. God will bless it. I'll take all the blessings I can get. I mean, I've thought about it. I don't know if I have quite the audience potential to stretch it out even longer. But yeah, I don't have I don't have a big audience, and I don't know how well that would do. This is the time I can afford right now. I can squeeze an hour out, during the day to do this. But I don't know if I could do it longer. And I know Fistful of Radio, that's the podcasting service in Atlanta. The programmer there, he likes the show, but there's really not much he can do as far as promoting the show, and I don't have sponsors. So, it is what it is. I'm not Mark Dice here. Yeah, I don't have. Although, also, if I had like 3,000 people in the chat, I wouldn't be able to keep up. I wouldn't be able to keep up. And I do like acknowledging the people. I do like acknowledging the people because I am appreciative that people take the time out to visit, listen to what I'm saying. I know I'm preaching to the choir mostly. I'm hardly reaching anybody new. ScrewTube doesn't allow it. They blocked this channel up pretty good. But what am I going to do? And just one more here. And That's Life has made it here today. Glad you could make it. That's Life. New York Patriot says, I wish you did a later show. I usually get out of work at 2, only get to watch you when I'm doing overtime like now. Yeah, this is the time that works well for me at the moment. This works for me. And I've actually done it earlier a couple of times, and I've gotten less people. And I've done it later by accident, because like there's been problems where you might remember there was a power outage and there was a couple of other things that happened, and I ended up doing it later, like at 4, and nobody shows up. I don't know. It's kind of the sweet spot right now at 2, but it remains to be seen. If I ever got to be a bigger channel, then I might get expanded a little further, but not to say that I don't appreciate everybody. This is what I was looking for. We talked a lot about this yesterday, and that is the Earned Income Tax Credit. And they call it EITC now. I recall it being EIC, but they've added the T, and tax means tax. T means tax, the Earned Income Tax Credit. It's not an IRS credit. It's not really a refund. It is a tax funded source that pays people for not working, basically. We talked about it at length, and you're eligible for it even if you didn't work. And if you did work, then if you're under a certain income. So we talked about it yesterday, and I gave some examples. Like, let's say you only work 12, 15 hours a week, and you got a couple of kids, you're eligible for this. And the rules have changed over the years, okay? And this is a Tax Foundation article. I had a very difficult time tracking down any numbers on how much is actually paid in earned income credit or earned income tax credit to people. All the articles I saw were talking about how to qualify. Okay, how to qualify, and they do have that in here. It says if your AGI, your annual gross income, is under 30,000 a year, and it says a third of benefits are for people under 15,000. Basically, people that are below the poverty line or close to the poverty line with 3 or more children, and 3 or more children is their max. And this is the chart. It says phase in and phase out on EIC. And this chart is very revealing, and it's very revealing as we look at this chart. And I'll read it through, okay? This is the benefit chart. This is the maximum you can earn and the minimum. So it actually, the chart literally starts at 0. 3 children is the most it pays you for. And this is what I was talking about yesterday when I said that if you've got more kids, like let's say you got 5 kids and your neighbor has 1, you can wink, wink, nudge, nudge, lend them 2 Social Security cards, and they'll claim those kids on their taxes and say that those kids lived with them for 6 months or more, and there's no way to verify this. So if you have more than 3, you can't get more for those kids. There's no point claiming them on your taxes. You see the problem? Okay? You see the problem? So we'll start at 0, all right? And we'll pretend you have 3 children. So unmarried, 3 children, this is your maximum cap. This is the this is the 2019 bracket on this particular chart, and it caps at 7,000, but now it's 7,850, okay? They changed it again. So this chart is now officially outdated because they've raised it. So if you earned, oh, excuse me, no, I read that incorrectly. That's your credit amount. All right, that's correct. Here's your median income. So 3 children, if you earned 15,000 with 3 children, you'll get an EITC tax credit of $7,850. Okay? So basically $15,000 a year. You worked a part-time job, 15 to 20 hours a week at some crappy part-time job at KFC and wine that you can hardly feed your kids. Probably also collecting SNAP benefits, food stamps. Okay. Getting an extra 1,000 or 2 kickback from your neighbor for trading a couple of kids so they can default or cheat EIC, because a lot of people do this. I've seen it done. No joke. I've seen this in action. Okay. And that's the joke. Gary says, assume the poor position. No kidding. So you're getting free medical, you're getting food stamps, you're getting a clothing allowance probably. You're getting free childcare, and none of that is factored in. You're going to get 7,800 maximum cap from earned income tax credit. I keep forgetting to say the tax because they changed the title. And you're going to get back all of your federal and Social Security / Medicaid tax payments that came out of the check that you did earn, so that you're only paying state taxes, okay? Which means that you're going to get a refund check that's over 10 grand. And Jane says in Florida state, if you want to homeschool your kids, give you $10,000 to help buy books, etc., but your kids must pass the test for educational class level. Do you think this is EIC? No, that's not earned income tax credit. That is public school vouchers. because a lot of states, if I don't know officially if they have that in Florida, I assume they do. That's when you can claim a voucher program for opting out of public school and using private or tutoring services instead. And they have to reimburse you. And that's not even how much you get for a kid, because each child is paid much more than that, or the state earns more than that per child. Let me see here. I forgot how much that is. It's about $14,000 per child. So they're cheating you anyways. I just looked that up really quick, and that's an average. That's a nationwide average, but it changes from state to state. So they're cheating you anyways. They're cheating you anyways. Now moving down the chart, okay. Moving down the chart, here is the EIC growth chart. All right, this one stops at 2015, but it's still fairly accurate at costing between 70 to 80 billion dollars a year. So earned income tax credit alone costs taxpayers between 70 to 80 billion. I think it said in 2023 it was $73 billion was paid free money from earned income tax credit. So 73 billion last year of your tax dollars went to paying people as an incentive, basically to only work part-time. Because this is a great way to hustle the system, right? You're not paying for your groceries. You're not paying for childcare. You work 15, 20 hours a week, just enough to get by. You get all your federal and Social Security and Medicaid taxes back at the end of the year, a nice fat EIC check, probably clearing anywhere between $5,000 to almost $8,000 on that. So damn near a $10,000 refund check. Must be nice. Shit, I'm in the wrong line of work. Oh my God. Oh my God. And New York Patriot says, how much of that money is truly being spent on the children? None. Why should you? Why should you? You're not having to pay anything to the school. You'll get free supplies for the school while you're paying for your kids' supplies, because they have programs for that. Usually Housing and Urban Development often sponsor a lot of that stuff. So you get free groceries, free childcare, free clothing allowance for yourself and the kids. None of that. When I used to help people do taxes, you know how like you can go to the library and get your taxes done for free, that kind of garbage. And I used to help with that. This is a long time ago, by the way. I haven't done that in like almost 20 years, more than 20 years, actually. All right. I don't even know if I could do somebody's taxes anymore. But they find out what they're getting for their refund check, and oh man, I'm going to the casino. Oh man, I'm going to get me that big TV. Never did I hear anybody talking about, yeah, I can pay off that car payment. I can catch up on my bills, which is what that money is supposed to be for. That's supposed to be leg up money to help you, leg up money to help you to recover. Okay? It's supposed to be leg up money to help you to recover. Here's a boost. You got kids. You didn't earn a lot this year. Here's a little boost. Pay your bills. Pay off your car if you own a car and you're making payments. That's what that money is intended for. I guarantee you it's not what it's being used for. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And the entire welfare function is sickening anyways. Tuck says, when they were young, they didn't know anything about this free money for people with kids. I always consider myself to be poor to have children. You know, and if you don't have much money and you're taking care of kids and you're doing it on your own, man, more power to you for not bilking the system. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. And he says, now you have 110. I appreciate it, Brian. Hey, every bit helps. It means a lot. And, right, especially right now, we are stuck. We are really stuck. So yeah, it always means a lot. It always means a lot. So thank you, Brian. And looking into this in more detail, before I lose my train of thought completely, and I had it written down here someplace, is the earned income credit last year cost the American taxpayer $73 billion, but all in welfare. All right, and this makes me reposition what the money pits are really in this country, because again, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, Social Security, Medicare, whatever, $1.5 trillion a year. Okay, 1.5 trillion. Number two behind that is welfare. The combined welfare, cash payments, food stamps, Medicaid, if I remember correctly, because I mixed them up. Medicare, Medicaid is like linked to Social Security, and Medicare is the welfare, right? I get them backwards. Clothing allowances, fuel allowances, child care, and EIC is considered part of welfare. All right, $1.1 trillion a year. It's the second biggest money pit in the country, right behind Social Security benefits and SSI, which is also often scammed. All right. Third, public school, $927 billion from federal and state money. And biggest failure system out there. All right. And these are all organizations, no checks and balances, none. God forbid you want checks and balances with public school or welfare. 1.2 trillion. And people get mad if you want to run drug tests. Oh, how dare you? How dare you require drug tests? You tell that to all the people selling their food stamp benefits. All right? Insane. Gary says there should be EITC for cats. Yeah, you can't claim cats on your taxes. Monkey says, I remember when I used to be on SNAP, and it was good for me when I was in college before my state made it where college kids can get on SNAP. I mean, if you need it, you need it. But too many people are scamming it, and you can't prove it because they won't check it. They really won't follow it up. And Monkey says they had a higher paying job. They got out of having SNAP and Medicaid, or was it aid? I don't remember. And seeing people abuse the system makes me mad. And you should. Because like I said, if somebody really needs just the boost, if they need the help, okay, I get it. Fine. But there are people who do this for a living. This is their job. Military. Everybody's always complaining about the military-industrial complex. Last year, or the current budget, $847 billion, so about $850 billion. It falls into fourth place. You're telling me that the welfare by itself, this is where you get really screwed up. Welfare by itself, public school by itself, and Social Security SSI by itself is more than the military-industrial complex, and you're complaining about the military spending. Are you serious? Tug says they're childless. Can't even recall how many times someone has told me I'd make a great father. Sure, as long as I was willing to never give my woman and kids my name and commit daily fraud. And Lucky says $315 trillion in global debt. And New York Patriot said, didn't Clinton have to work for welfare program when he was in office? Maybe we should implement that system again. That wasn't Clinton. That was Reagan started that in California back in the 80s. Workfare, they used to call it. But that was his idea initially, that, okay, you're collecting welfare benefits and you're able-bodied. then you're going to do volunteer work for the state to pay it off. That was his system. That was his system. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. We can talk more about this tomorrow if you'd like to. I do have to start wrapping up. My wife starts coming home, is going to be home soon, and that's actually why I get off at 3. And no offense, I'd rather be with my wife. We actually get along really well. we actually get along really well. I love her dearly. But again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can join the live portion on YouTube on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. Special thanks today to Rodney, to Brian, and especially New York Patriot for helping the channel out today. Really means a lot. Really means a lot. Very much appreciated. Goes a long way with all that we're dealing with the animals right now, especially after what happened to us this week. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.